Welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Your host, Jill Hart, the coach's Alchemist. Couldn't be more excited to have you join us today. On this podcast, we celebrate the champions of change, the up-and-coming life, health and transformational coaches who are fearlessly stepping forward to make a difference in the world. Get ready for inspiring stories, practical tips, and powerful moments that will motivate you to make a positive change in your life and those around you. We're happy to have you join us on this incredible journey as we dive into the world of life, health, and transformational coaches who are lighting up the path towards a better tomorrow.
Hi, and welcome to the New World Order Showcase podcast. Today we are speaking with Lavender Morantz. Lavender is a passionate children's author, illustrator, and international and TEDx speaker. She's the mama of two spirited daughters. She is a certified nutrition and wellness specialist who deeply desires to empower and educate children and families about the mind, body, and soul connection through her work. Welcome to the show, Lavender. It's so nice to have you here.
It's such an honor to be here with you.
So tell us your story. How'd you get started? How'd you get into all of this?
Right? How do we trace it back? I feel like it was just, what do they call luck? It's opportunity meets timing. And my books were honestly on my 10 years, probably since I had my first child, which is now almost 13 years ago. But before I published them, let's go back that far. And before that, I was very deeply involved in wellness, holistic wellness, wellness e-commerce, wellness coaching. And the books, I think, were just a really natural next layer to that personal interest and professional capacity to help other people. And, I've done a lot of personal work with the mind, body, soul connection for myself. And my thinking was, if we could gift our littles and families that beautiful knowledge, connection, intuition earlier than, let's say, 30 or 40, when I figured it would be such a gift to the world.
I absolutely agree. And I was looking at your books. They're so beautiful, but they're designed in a way that inspires really little kids to, like, you're teaching them in a way that's not preachy or teachy. It's like they're really well done. Let me put it out.
Yeah, it's interesting because, when you're putting your work out in the world, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm really going to be seen here. So it's scary, but I made them super simple on purpose because I watched what my daughters gravitated towards and what books they loved best. And it was always the ones with just a really simple, straightforward message, and it stayed in their heart. And so when I was creating these, I'm like, it doesn't need to be anything crazy Harvard textbook over here. It's for kids. I want it to be fun and easy because otherwise they're not going to love it.
Let's eat the rainbow. I don't think I will ever forget that. It's so great from the perspective of children like to eat things, and the idea of eating the rainbow, the magic and the mystery and it's in the sky, and it's all the things that really draw kids in. Yeah. But on the other hand, as the health coach, I get that you should eat the rainbow because you want to eat a little bit of everything, all the colors, because that's how you stay healthy. But it's just the way you married the two is like genius.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, you got to make it fun. And, I feel like kids are still so in touch with their connection to nature. And so that was just a very easy segue into, okay, well, if you're nature and you love nature, like rainbows and all the beautiful things, we need to nurture
I missed that last word. We need to nurture our
own nature as well.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
So how did you you're just kind wow. Talk much? So when I was looking over your website, it looks like you're kind of doing two things, but they're very much connected. And as as you're telling your story, it's you you wrote these books and they hit the bestseller list, and that catapulted you into doing something else. So tell us how that happened and how it moved you to the next point in your journey. And then you can tell
Yeah.
us what that is.
Yeah, I love that. Good question. Okay, so when I was writing my books, I think the number one thing I was doing was taking really good notes because it was something I had never done before and it was like uncharted territory. And so I interviewed a lot of people who had gone before me and done it successfully. I wanted to kind of know, like, kind of explode the bomb up front and kind of know what to expect on that journey. And in doing so, it actually made the road a lot smoother for me, navigating the speed bumps and figuring out how and who to work with. And so then I was like, okay, well, now that I've done this and I took really detailed notes, who else can I serve with this information? Because I don't want to hold it to myself. Like, I don't want to hang on to that and, not help someone else figure it out. And it was a really cool process. I was really grateful to have met some incredible people along the way. And so I wanted to share not just the knowledge and the process, but also the helpful people along the way, because that's where the magic happens. And so that's where those courses and, mentorship and training came to life kind of out of nowhere.
Isn't it interesting how you start out on one path? I feel that in my own business where I thought I was going to do one thing, which is why I named my website Heart Life Coach.
Which I love, by the
I
way.
am not. I am
Yeah.
not a life coach, really. I'm a business coach. And I thought I was going to just work in the business realm, but with sales. But I help people with podcasts because
Incredible.
I had to do the same thing. I didn't have anybody that I could turn to when I first started. And I had to figure out all the pieces,
Yeah.
and it's blown up pretty well for me.
I love
And
that. Yeah. Like, you create the map and then you share the map.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And there's all these little bits and pieces that you learn in the process. And as you experience a lot of success with following the map that you figured out and you share it with others, all those little pitfalls that they don't have to go through that you may have fallen into and had to climb out of.
Yeah.
That's not
I
what's
think that's the beauty of mentorship and coaching. And, I've had coaches and mentors my whole life, and it's made the journey, first of all, way less lonely because we thrive in community. And second of all, yes, to your point, avoid, you get to progress on that journey that much faster and more successfully than if you had tried to navigate it yourself. It's genius.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. And it I don't know, the community aspect of it also is like so important.
Yeah.
I I can't tell you how many people I've met over the years that I've stayed in contact with, but I met them in a group. We were doing some project or
Yeah.
some coaching or something, and the coach is long gone, but the friends that I made, they're still
They're still
around and we
there.
still do
Yeah.
stuff together.
Yeah.
So
That's the
it
magic of community. And, like, the phrase "it takes a village" didn't come out of thin air, right? I think a lot of us have lost that because, the world is very spread out and a lot of people are online now, which is still a great way to connect. But I think we've lost that essence of our village. And so getting to recreate that in these little mini bubbles and ways that we're able to do that, I think, is so powerful for people. Because isn't it interesting how certain people end up in certain groups too? It's like, it's not an accident that you ended up in a group with certain people, because there's commonalities there every time.
and it's interesting to be able to interlay the connections. Like I'm part of a lot of groups and you're part of a lot of different groups, but when I bring you onto my podcast and then we're interacting and I can share some of the connections from my groups and you can share some of the connections from your groups, and then our worlds expand and our connections expand. It's, I don't know, it gives me goosebumps when I think about
Wild.
it.
I love it. I love it so much. Honestly, that's where the magic is. I totally believe that too. Very cool.
So when you're doing your coaching program, for the, do you do both, back up, do you do both coaching for the health and wellness still and mentorship for book writing?
I do actually, yeah, because I think it's
Okay.
just something that's been such a close part of my journey. And I think that ultimate life success, whether you want to call it business or whatever, you need to be healthy in order to really fully participate in life, in business, in relationships. And so I just see those two things as part of a greater whole. And so, yes, I do coach in both, especially mental wellness, because that's been such a huge part of my journey. And I think everybody's, especially over the last few years, I think we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg right now. I think it's so deeply intertwined that you can't really separate them and coach them separately. They need to be kind of part and parcel of the same conversation.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think the first part of any business journey is within. Go down deep and deal with all your stuff, and then it's interesting to see what comes out of it. And I don't know anybody who is really successful who hasn't gone on that journey. It's like,
Yeah.
even the bro marketers out there,
Yeah. Even the bros.
you can see it.
You got to give it to the bros.
If you watch them long enough, you
Yeah.
can see that they've had to go through an awakening of the soul to get where they're at.
Yeah. I don't believe you can authentically coach another person if you're not in a place where you're vulnerable enough to like deal with your own things too. It will always come to the surface.
Should you just keep attracting those kinds of people that will drive you crazy?
So true. So true.
So the real secret is be your authentic self, know who you are, and those are the kinds of people you'll attract to you, because everybody else will be repelled. And then you won't have to deal with them.
Which is a good thing. Stay away.
It is a good thing. It's important that you interact with the people that are going to lift up your life and make you and validate you. And we all look for validation in our opinions, in our business, and in life, because who wants to argue with people all the time?
Yeah,
life is too short for that.
Way
so
too short.
how does your life, health, and wellness part, body, mind, body, soul, and spirit, body, mind, and soul, how do you phrase that?
Mind, body, soul connection.
Mind, body, soul. Okay, there we go. How do you do that piece when you're working with clients? Is it one-on-one? Is it group coaching? Is it families? How does that look?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm available to do both. Typically what I've done is I do love the idea of community, because I also feel like we need to see ourselves in other people too. And typically, like I said, so like, let's say everybody signs up for a December course with me. There's going to be commonalities in what people are experiencing, in what's holding them back, in what their subconscious mind is saying. And I think it's so powerful to not only accept the coaching and mentorship ourselves, but to also see ourselves reflected in others. And sometimes one person is comfortable saying, hey, this is my problem, and somebody else isn't comfortable saying it out loud, but they're still getting it by listening to the other person. So I love the group coaching environment. I do understand that it's a very vulnerable environment, especially if we're talking about like conscious parenting, because, our littles are so precious to us and nobody wants to be like, I'm a bad mom, So I think that both serve a purpose. But I really think that the group coaching situation is very powerful. I also have some pre-recorded stuff so you can do a work at your own pace situation, which I think serves some people very well too, especially parents. They're busy, they maybe can't make all the calls live, and then they can just do a self-study, which I have found with my network that that's actually been really appreciated as well. So there's kind of a few ways that people, which is cool.
Yeah, I like that you have a lot of alternatives for them because parents are busy, they're working. And even if they're not working, like outside the home,
Yeah.
almost everybody is doing something.
Oh yeah,
We're
it's
just
chaos.
like a hustle culture.
Yeah, I say, parenting is the most uncertain and intense form of leadership that there is, right? You're just throwing it out
Yeah,
there. You don't become a parent. It's just here you go. Enjoy.
I've had 5 kids and
Oh my goodness.
they're all launched, but it I had 2 when I was in my 20s and I had 3 more when I was almost 40. I started having more kids.
Good for
Um,
you.
my last one I was 44 when she was born.
Good for
So,
you.
um, it's interesting to see the difference in who they became as adults and young adults. They're all different, they're all interesting, but it I could you can tell as you grow yourself and you're at different points in your journey. It's like what they feed back to you.
Yeah,
It's like,
totally. And there comes a point where we just have to trust that our parenting was enough, right? See how it rolls
well,
out.
I like to think that they picked the journey they're on. They knew
100%.
what they were getting. They asked for it.
Yeah.
And so they're going to be on that journey, and it's up to them to deal with it. It's not my problem. We all go through trauma in childhood. Nobody's
100% true.
escaped it.
Yeah. I tell my girls, I say, you signed up for this. And then now
Yeah.
they parrot it back to me. They're like, you signed up for this when they're in trouble. I'm like, this is a true story. I did.
There's so much power in that, though.
Yeah.
And in responsibility, taking responsibility for the situation that you're in,
Yeah.
knowing that and teaching your kids that when they're young, that's going to just produce some really well-adjusted adults.
Yeah.
You can't help but have that
You were
because
bang on with that. Yeah. It's a game changer.
it really is. And I hope that more and more parents are catching on to that concept that, we're all here on this journey together. We picked it.
Yeah.
We picked this experience that we're going to have together. And, yeah, there's going to be ups and downs, and it's going to go both ways. And it kind of plays into the whole boundaries thing again, where, boundaries are becoming more people are aware of the concept of boundaries than I think have been in the past. It's becoming a talked about topic that as parents start to develop boundaries for themselves out of love, and boundaries are a love element, and showing their children and modeling for their children how to create boundaries, and then the kids can you can model respecting other people's boundaries with them, and
100%. Yeah.
that also is going to help our society as these children grow up and they have these tools for interacting with each other.
Definitely. I think it's very, very powerful. And that's such a because it's like, our children do as we do. They don't do as we say.
Hmm.
I think modeling is huge, and boundaries are an incredible thing to learn as early as possible. So you don't, stray too far away from your soul.
Yeah, and then when they finally grow up and move away, you can remember who you were instead of trying to, like, there's so many people in my age group when we were raising our younger kids, it was just like you were expected to be separate people, but your kids, you can get caught up in living your kids' lives for them. and then you lose yourself, or you never really grow into who you're supposed to be. And then you get to that point where you're on your own and you're like, who am I? And what are my values? What do I want in life?
Yeah.
I mean, you could have had it all the way along.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that brings us full circle back to part of why I created the book series, is so that kids don't lose that in the first place. And I feel like sometimes we're taught, who wants pieces of us, that it's selfish to focus on you first, but you cannot pour from an empty cup. So early, like how to connect with your, feed your body, how to feed your mind, you're less likely to stray in the first place, and you are a much more pleasant human to be around because you're so grounded and centered in who you truly are and what makes you tick.
Yes. And you're still connected to nature. And that's so important. It's we've built all these institutions that I'm grateful we're moving away from a lot of them. You know, the school system's been challenged, medical system's been challenged, the political systems are all challenged. It's
all the things.
It's like all the things that personally I thought we were just like careening off this cliff. We'd already gone over the edge and just waiting for the hard landing to happen. But after COVID, it's just like there's been this awakening of people saying, yeah, I don't really think it has to go that way.
Yeah.
I don't have to do education this way just because you said so.
Which
I
is
can
so
do it this
cool.
way.
Yeah.
And
this
parenting.
Huge. Yes. Yes.
And
You're right. And it's actually been amazing to see that side of things. Yes, there was the darkness that came through. We all saw it. But there's also been a huge call for light and for leadership, and to your point, to do things a completely different way, which is awesome.
it is really inspiring to me. It's like why I like to get up every day. It's like, wow, so much opportunity and so many people doing so many cool things, and they're using their unique talents and skills and showing us a different way. There's lots of different ways to do things. We don't all have to be the same. And in the uniqueness, there's the beauty of collaboration and lack of competition, something I like to call coopetition, where you compete with yourself to be the best that you can be in the areas that you're gifted at. And you can respect and appreciate where other people are gifted. You don't have to compete with them for that.
Yeah. I love it.
Together, you can like do amazing things.
It's huge. Honestly, I love that. Actually, I'm going to use that word. I think that's amazing. With credit, of course. Yeah, I love that
concept. I just want it to get out.
Yeah. I love that, because I feel like we don't realize that, jealousy, envy, it's just a projection onto someone else. And, we're so much more powerful together in community, in cooperation, to your point. And we're not all going to be good at all the things. So like, it benefits every single person in the equation to collaborate and to cooperate and to honor each other's genius, right? Which is like so cool to have conversations like this. It's like, look how we came together. It's magic.
It is magic. And there's more magic that's going to happen in the wings that I'm really excited about.
You too. Yay.
And it's a beautiful world. There's lots of opportunity, and just being able to share it with others makes the world better. Okay. So when it comes to the coaching for the book publishing, writing?
Yeah. For authors and aspiring authors. Yes.
Okay. And it doesn't matter if it's a children's book or an adult book?
It doesn't matter. I mean, I do tend to find that the people that gravitate towards my coaching and mentorship are more inclined towards either fiction or children's books, but it's not necessarily only for them. But because that's what I did, I tend to see a lot of people who are on a similar path, if not the same path.
Interesting. Interesting. So how does that look if people want to work with you in that realm?
Yeah. So I have a couple different options. I do a shorter program called Your Bestseller, and it teaches kind of the energetics behind getting to bestseller. You get to meet some of my people that I worked with, which I love. So you get to expand your network, and you kind of get all along the way of first of all how to do it, and second of all how to get it to bestseller. And then the other way that I work with people is with a longer mentorship program. It's more like an 8-week or 8 module program, and that is really in depth. So the first, we focus on the energetics of self, like what it takes for you to even walk that path. And the second 4 weeks, we talk about the book. So like how to pour yourself into this thing that you're creating, that you're birthing, and how to make sure that you do it with the absolute most beautiful energy possible. So it's a little bit different than the traditional bro, what did you call it?
Pro marketers.
Bro marketers. I love that. And it's different than like, the big 5 publishers. Like it's not a turbo forceful business approach, but it's an approach that's going to get it done in a really beautiful way that's going to feel good to you. We don't want people burning out on this journey, because then what good is that for you if your health suffers in the process, right?
So would it be in somebody's best interest, say they have a book in them and they're thinking they want to write this book, they should take this second thing that you described first, and then once they get the book done, then hop over to the how to make it a bestseller?
Yeah,
Is
I mean, you can do it in any direction, because I think that there's tidbits in both that can support both journeys. I feel like they're all for a potential author or existing author's best interest. So whatever they intuitive drawn to first is what I encourage. They are not meant to, they're meant to complement each other, but it doesn't matter what order you were to take them in.
Interesting. Okay, so there's a little bit of overlap in both of them. So
Definitely. Yeah.
very cool. And are those are self-paced or group?
So I have those available as self-study, which I do find, like I said, people love, because I mean, a lot of authors are also doing other things. So they may not be able to make it to an 11 a.m. weekly Monday call, for example. I do once a year run them live as well. But for right now, they're available as self-study. And then I also do offer one-on-one coaching as well.
Very cool. And just can you do so you get into one of these coaching programs that are self-paced and you're like, oh my cow, I just really need to talk to her about all of this. So there's ways that you can
Yeah.
for a fee, of course. I mean, your
Yes.
time is valuable, and they could connect with you and have like a private coaching session, and then they could pick back up now that
Yeah,
they've had all their
100%.
questions answers. Okay.
100%. So when somebody signs up for self-study, they automatically get a discovery call with me as well, so that
Mhm.
they're not kind of just floating out there by themselves, in singular orbit. They've got some grounding there to have their questions answered and explore a little bit more. If something doesn't make sense, they can kind of clarify there.
So would you do the discovery call before they purchase your program, or is it like after?
It's entirely up to the client. So they get to choose, they get to pick their timing. I feel like a lot of people prefer to do it after, just because then they've had a chance to digest the information. And like, I think that when you do it before, then they're still wanting more information after. So I encourage, dive into the material and write down all your questions, so that when we do have the call, it's like super productive for people. But then there's also the opportunity for some one-on-one coaching as well after the self-study. So there's always the option to add on if people need the extra time and attention and handholding, for sure.
Awesome. And you cover all of the parts, like the formatting, the publishing, whether it's self-published or Amazon or
Yeah. Yeah, we talk about the 3 kind of main channels to publish, pros and cons are to each of them, how to build your dream team if you're going to do it yourself, or how to navigate choosing a publisher who has a team already in place for you. I talk about illustrating, I talk about promoting, I talk about how to get into major retailers. I talk about the Amazon process. I talk about print on demand versus pre-producing. Like, my books are board books, so considers them a physical product, not a book, which was interesting. And I didn't know that beforehand. So I pre-produced those and then shipped them over, and then sent cartons to Amazon so that Amazon could offer them as well. And then they're also in Indigo, which is really cool. But that whole process was like such a learning process for me. Then going a year later into ebooks, then Amazon finally recognized it as, okay, now you get an author page, and now you get a bestseller sticker, and you get all these things. But those are things I didn't really know or understand. I'm like, no, I wrote a book. It's a book. And Amazon's like, nope, that's a product. All the things that you wouldn't even like know ahead of time until you kind of figure. So we talk about all those things. We talk about PR, about marketing, about advertising, about how to use your book as a business card for other products, because a lot of these people also have businesses that they're running similar to you and I, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
all of those intricacies with what a book can also do for you in terms of opening other doors, whether it be speaking or coaching or into your world that you wouldn't have reached otherwise.
And you are an international speaker, and you did a TEDx talk, and is it around these things? What was your subject on the TEDx?
Kind of. My subject was called Your Struggle Will Set You Free. And it was more along the line. And I mean, I think it's relatable to everybody, but it's really like, your life struggles are there for a reason, and kind of how to shift your mindset from, turning the mess into your message, and learning to kind of pick through it so that it can actually elevate you instead of like completely taking you out of the game. And I mean, we've all been through a different set of circumstances. Everybody's had their share of struggle. It's, how can you use it to empower you instead of the reverse,
Yeah, it's being the hero of your own journey. And when you are taking that responsibility for how you ended up where you're at, and responsibility for getting to a different place in your life, if that's what you want, it it helps everybody around you. It's not just something that you do for yourself. I mean, we've all been told, oh, that's very selfish and you should never be selfish. Well, I'm here to tell you, be selfish. Please be selfish, because the more selfish you are, better off those around you are going to be, because you know who you are, and you know what you want, you know what you like, and you know how to contribute what you have to contribute, instead of just, what everybody tells you you have to do.
Yeah.
It's a totally different way of existing that is making a huge difference in the way we interact with each other and the way the world is going.
Yeah, it is. It's true. One of my very first virtual business mentors, Jim Rohn, always used to say, I'll take care of me for you, and you take care of you for me. Because if we can't take care of ourselves first, it's like the airplane analogy that we've heard so often, right? It's like you're told to put your oxygen mask on first, because if you pass out, what good are you to anybody else? Right?
Yeah. And this, it is a new concept, but it shouldn't be. It's like, it makes total sense. I don't know why we had to go for so long where we had to be in these little pigeonholes that we were stuffed into as children and told, don't ever escape from this. This is who I'm going to make you be. And, you weren't created to be that person. You were created to be something entirely different. And we don't always stay the same as we grow and age. We should be continuing to grow. intellectually, spiritually,
We're
nutritionally.
yeah, all the things. When we know better, we do better, right? And it contributes to a completely different whole. And like, yeah, to your point about, kids and, being told you have to be this way or that way for somebody else's comfort, just comes back to let your struggle set you free. It's like all those things can be used as motivation. And I mean, I'm super open book and vulnerable about the stuff because I know that there's somebody out there going through something that needs to hear it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just knowing that there's somebody else out there going through it too, maybe enough to like spur them on to like, hey, maybe it is okay if I sit and meditate and just let my mind wander for a little while.
We're taught to be so busy that we don't ever, pause for a hot second. I think, one of the things that was actually part of my TED Talk, ironically, is that struggle is, even though it feels isolating in the moment, you feel very alone, is actually the greatest human connector because it's something that we all feel at some point in our lives. And so open about it or feel deeper into it, the more connected, crazy enough, we actually are.
Yeah. And we do connect through different mechanisms, but pain is universally the easiest way to connect with others because we feel for them, whether it's bad or anxious or whatever, but we have that tie energetically to people that we can tell are struggling because we want to help them because we're human. That's the thing we do. So yeah. So how do people get in touch with you?
Oh man, there's straightforward ways. It's my name, Lavender Morantz, at whatever social media situation it is. So I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. The website for my books is conscious.ca. You can also reach me to an email if you have questions. There's a fancy little form you can fill out. And you can also order the books through there too if you've got kids or would like a beautiful gift for somebody that's special to you. Yeah.
Perfect. And what's the one thing that you want to leave the audience with today that you hope they take away from our conversation?
I love it. I think I love the idea of self-responsibility that we've talked about in a number of different ways and angles today. I think, you are in the driver's seat of your life for your family, for your business, for anything and everything you want to see or anything and everything you want to shift in your life. And you're way more powerful than you think you are. I think that's something everybody needs to be reminded of now and then.
I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you so much for joining us today, Lavender.
Thank you. It was absolutely such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another empowering episode of the You World Order Showcase podcast. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from our incredible life, health, and transformational coaches who are making a profound impact on the world. Remember, change begins with you, and you have the power to transform your life and the lives of others. If you want to take that next step and unlock your true potential, visit thecoachesalchemist.com, where you can find the 3 ways we can help you for free to spin your talent into gold with clarity, a system, and a plan. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an inspiring episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more people with our positive message. Stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and upcoming guest announcements. You can find us on Facebook at the You World Order or simply visit thecoachesalchemist.com.